What's up, y'all? Well, I'm back. Sorry I've been going so long. And I've been inconsistent with finishing up the series because I told y'all I'd be finished by now, but I'm clearly not. Okay. We got a couple more episodes of this series to go. Um, I almost didn't finish it, but I told myself in order for people to understand me now, they have to know who I was, you know, throughout my life. You have to be able to see the past to understand the present and the future. And here we are with this episode. This episode is I probably the reason why I almost didn't want to finish the series, but then I had to understand that there's so many people that I want to help and I want to inspire, and in order for me to do that, I had to be as transparent as possible. Okay. Um, I know we last left off on me and my tumultuous multi-year situation with a certain menace. Um, well, in the midst of me trying to find ways to get away from that demon child, demon seed, um, I ended up falling ill. I would want to say, we going a little too fast right now. Okay, so I decided to come to you guys looking the way I look right now. Because, I mean, honestly, I like, look, I can't be nice looking all the time. You know what I'm saying? I just thought I'd come to y'all just, in my little onesie. It's a little cold. I thought I'd come to you just looking just all just not like, you know. Uh, but anyhow, we're going to start the story like this. Um, in 2019, um, this is after, after the Super Bowl I mentioned. This is after, if I mentioned it or not, the Dream concert I went to at the end of February 2019. I was feeling really good. I was starting to feel, a lot freer and a lot more independent. And then I suddenly was working one day and fell ill. Um, I started getting like chills. I started getting like everything, like a headache, chills, just fatigue, nausea, and I'm thinking I'm got to, catch a virus or something, what I'm saying? Because I'm feeling like I'm literally feeling like I'm feeling sick. Um, and it was like, I can't even describe. Like, I couldn't even describe the way I felt. I just kept feeling like more and more ill, you know? And I just recall just being like, what's going on? I started, dry heaving. I started doing all this weird stuff, and eventually it got to a point while at work, all this is happening at work within like a short 60 minutes to 90 minute span. Um, then I decided at the time, I need to go home. So at that point in time, the Grinch, I keep using different words. The Grinch worked pretty much almost like next to me, like not too far where I work, from where I worked at. I would say maybe like a few minutes. And I told him to come get me because I wasn't feeling well. And he's like, okay, I'm just getting off work, so I'm gonna come and take you home. I'm like, okay. So, he come and gets me. I get in the car. I'm just like, I'm not feeling well. I just need to probably go home and sleep it off. It's probably like going to be a virus. So by the time I get back to the house, I get in the bed. Get in the bed, try to sleep or whatever and sleep it off. Like, just like, it just seemed like the worst of the worst started happening. I woke up the next day, long story short, and wasn't feeling any better. I was feeling worse, actually. And like all of a sudden, man, like I was ill. I had nausea. Um, like I just felt dizzy. Um, like all the things I mentioned I felt before, it was like worse. Then it started affecting everything else. Like you know, my voice, my taste, my senses, like everything, all my five senses were jacked up. Like everything was just going wrong. You know, I started to feel like a little sick. Um, and it just got really bad, you know, and I ended up catching a fever, and it was just everything you can think didn't go wrong. Anything you can think of a viral symptom pretty much was happening by that point. And eventually I told the Grinch, I was like, look, I need to go to the hospital or something, somewhere to go see what's going on. So I believe I went to the was it the I'm thinking it was an urgent care first, and I believe they said something about that I would have to end up going to like a minute clinic or another hospital or something of that sort. Um, so I did. I remember we ended up leaving there and going to the minute clinic, right there, like the CVS minute clinic, which was like right there. Um, Went in there. She checked me out, and she was like, "Well, it just looks like you're just having a normal fever to me. Like it just looks like you're having a little virus." She was like, "But everything is fine. Like she's like everything seems fine on you," and I'm like, "I'm not fine." It was agony to sit up, and was feeling like just feeling horrible, feeling like I had vertigo and everything. Like it was just a mess. So then, like it just, ugh. So it was a pain and stress. We was like, okay, that's not gonna work, you know, like that's not gonna work. Something's going on. So we went round that corner because the hospital was right around there too. So we ended up going to the actual hospital over there, and got into the hospital and got checked in, and um, waited and waited, and finally was able to see someone. And I explained how I was feeling, and she was like, "Okay, so just sit here, drink some Gatorade and kind of relax a little bit." And the Gatorade helped a little bit, kept me cool down, kept me hydrated, because by that point I had been just everything it was expelling out of my body. And so she did some blood work on me. Um, Told me to sit and wait for a while, so I waited until that came back. And so she came back in, and she was like, it's not really easy to pinpoint right now. We can't really tell what's going on. But she was like naming a bunch of things, like the road, like the bar syndrome. Uh, she was naming something else she mentioned. I can't remember exactly what it was. And then she also mentioned HIV. She mentioned a few things. Like she just named like a whole list of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And I'm like, okay, let's continue trying to figure out what it is. And she was like, okay, so what we'll do is we'll send you, refer you to a one of the satellite parts of their network, which was ironically right there too. Like everything just happened to be like in a like a little radius. And she said, okay. I said, okay. So she sent me home. She gave me some directions on what to do in the meantime. In the meantime, I started getting worse, and it got to the point to where like I couldn't move. I was getting the chills. At night I was talking to things, thinking things were there that weren't there. Like my skin, because I was in the dark, it was still kind of cool around that time of year, you know what I'm saying? So I had the curtains closed and things like that. So I was in the dark majority of the time because my eyes were sensitive. Um, I started slimming down. I was like at like 215 or so around that time, 215 pounds. Um, and I remember the weight just falling off me because of how ill I was, and me not eating, me trying to eat. Um, Water tasting like sugar, fruit tasting like acid, you know, vegetable tasting like metal. Like it was just weird. Couldn't really keep anything down, kept coming back up. Um, and like my skin started flushing skin tone. Um, I got light, like very, very light. And then my gums started swelling, like, and my throat started getting sore a good bit, a little scratchy. Um, Gums got swollen to the point they were sort of bleeding a little bit, a little bit. Um, then I started like breaking out, you know, all across my body, like everywhere, and I just didn't know what was going on. Um, and heck, I couldn't even roll myself over in bed. It was so hard to do that. So I got the strength one day to get up and go. It wasn't too long after that. It was literally not too long after that hospital visit. And we ended up uh, going, and I ended up getting checked out and everything, which was gruesome because, like I said, my body was just going through it so bad. It was even stressful just to sit up. Like, I just wanted to just lay flat down, you know what I'm saying? Because I thought I was going to pass out. I kept feeling like faint and light and everything. And she did, of course, they did more blood work. It just seemed like at this point I feel like a lab rat. Like, come on, you know? And once they did their work as well too, she too said the same thing of what it could possibly be. So in the meantime, I was to go home and rest and try to, take it easy. And honestly, through that whole point of time, can you believe that the person I was with, like, did not even believe I was sick? They thought I was making it up. Like, how do you make that up? I don't know. Okay, that whole time, I had to carry myself to most of the appointments, all the doctor visits and everything like that, the blood work, and by that point, she sent me back to the hospital again to get more blood work. It was just like every week I was getting blood work done, like more than one time a week. I ain't have really much to give, you know what I'm saying? Um, and then finally, that was in March. That was March, but like well into March by this point. And then she finally called me and she was like, well, you know, here's what we came up with. She was like, it appears to be traces of HIV in your system. And I was like, okay. Now, by this point, I had been so ill for so long, and I had a fever of like 104 or so for days, like straight. So by this point, I was ready to just be like, okay, let's figure out what it is. Let's focus on getting better because I feel really freaking bad right now. Like, I couldn't even go up and down the stairs in the townhome like that. Like, I could barely even walk and move. I was very weak. My feet were even sensitive. All my senses were crazy too. And she was like, okay. So she said what I'm going to do is she's going to get my information passed off to the next place to start, to get me checked out through them so they can, potentially discuss going into treatment and getting this under control. And then she, told me the reason why I was so ill. And it was an acute something, she said, had happened to me, which caused me to fall as ill as I did. And she was like, basically like, you're basically like a ticking hourglass. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to move quick, try to get you, start to get you in treatments as quick as we can because, so eventually she gets me into a network, and through them I had to start doing the same thing I was just doing, blood work, like every week. And that was gruesome too because I was already by that point, dehydrated all the time. Like, they trying to run, blood tests, and there's like nothing really coming out, and they're having to keep poking me in different places, my hands, like my hands and my over here, and it was just crazy. So eventually we got through that, and they were able to determine which type of medicine to put me on. And mind you, this is all the way going into May now. Like we April going into May. And by that point I was just over it. I was tired. Like I was irritated, frustrated, and tired. I'm like, okay, come on. I feel like a ticking time bomb. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like an hourglass about to run out. And they were like, we got you, if everything goes the way it's supposed to go, you can start treatment by that May, like the first week of that May. Um, and by this point, I was already out of work over 2 months. Like I had to, I couldn't. There was no way to work. It was impossible. So on top of having to deal with that, I was out of work, and then going back and forth with the job, trying to get FMLA, and them trying not to qualify me for it, and me having to ultimately taking a leave of absence, with no guarantee that my position will be there when I got back. It was just a lot of stuff that I was dealing with at that time. And then, of course, the doubter and naysayer that just didn't believe that when I was sick. Oh, and which in point, by the way, um, me and, like I said, my other half at that time, Shrek, had been together for a long time, for years. Never once had I cheated on him. I was pretty faithful. You know what I'm saying? We lived together. I was, you know, relationship, whether it was going up or down, I'm not about to step out because that's corny. And so he ended up, of course, on being on the safe side, getting himself tested. Um, and he ended up being negative. So we got that figured out with him. But me, on the other hand, of course, I ended up being positive. And of course, that May finally started taking treatments. And I was so happy and I was so blessed. Um, and I can recall just flashing back to like that initial period of time from like the end of February when that happened all the way to like the beginning of April. I remember at being sick for so long. I remember being in bed at the lowest point. I thought I was literally going to die. I literally thought I was going to die. I prayed to the Lord and, said thy will be done. I was like, this is it for me. I was that ill. I was that, like, it was bad. Um, and not too long after that, I don't know if it was a day or two, I couldn't really tell at that point, everything started to reverse. Like symptoms started falling off one by one. Then I was able to start eating again, slowly but surely. He turned it around. I swear he did. Lord, don't make no mistakes. He turned it around. And from then, it's still feeling ill, of course, still feeling bad. Having to go through these appointments and having all of this, blood work done and all of that was still draining me. And still trying to struggle to walk because I was still trying to learn how to walk all over again, which was crazy. Keeping my balance, my feet not being as sensitive, trying to keep them from, it was just a mess. Struggle to even put on clothes. So, fast forward, back into May, treatment has started and, everything is going the way it's supposed to go. And, I, was like, okay, let me attempt to try to get back to normal life. So I eventually tried to go back to work, called myself trying to go back to work. And that was a challenge at first. And I wasn't quite ready yet. So I had to sit back down, So I'm home most of the time, starting in April, actually, beginning of April. I was trying to game and stuff, get on the game and play the game. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing little stuff to try to sit up, trying to walk, get my stamina up because I had to relearn everything. Eating, you know what I'm saying? Walking, not being tired, trying to do one little thing, being honestly exhausted. Not showering too long or else I'll pass out, which I actually did 3 times in the shower. Like I fainted 3 times in the shower. One time I fell out the shower when I fainted and knocked the toilet like 5, 6 inches to the left, literally. Um, like it was really really bad. Um, not being able to be in hot or warm air for more than a few minutes. Man, trying to build an appetite all over again because my stomach was just over it. Not really being able to eat really anything, and man, when I spoke, it just like it. I could feel it through my whole body. My body was still sensitive, still touchy, and it was just. Mm. But I was determined to build my body back up. I had to start all over again. I had to build a new normal, a new life once again, and I did. Um, and by that time, by that point of the year, I had already returned back to work. I wrapped up my old job that I was working by the end of that summer, because it was just too intensive on my body. And me taking the medicine, initially started that medicine, my body was taking it rough. So I did something that I could sit down and do, something that was more relaxed and calm and chill. Um, by that, I started treatment in May. So by that November, by at least October, November, because by then test results still came back late as I don't know what when you got your blood work done. I was already undetectable. I was already undetectable, um, and I was so blessed and so happy because I was so ill. My body was just, ugh. Like my jaw was off the chain. When they initially tested, like it was just crazy. But by the grace of God, I became undetectable, and I worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, and dealt with that medicine because that medicine was a beast. Okay, the medicine is a beast. Um, like I would take it, I would eat, of course, but I would take it and it would just take everything out of me. Like I'd be tired, lethargic, hot, you know, just going through it. And I remember when I worked at that new job, I would carry like a big old reusable bag full of snacks every day because all I could do was just eat, eat. And just kept eating and kept eating and kept eating. That medicine made me so freaking hungry initially, man. Like for real. Mm, mm. But I eventually built up stamina, started building up resistance. By that point, I had cut my hair early that year, like in March. I had long natural hair. I cut it off because, for one, I wasn't able to manage my hair, and I knew I was going to be able to manage it for a very long time, and I didn't want to mess it up. Like, I didn't want to, just be looking crazy. So I trimmed that off, and I had like that much hair on my head. My weight went from 215 all the way down to 140, 50, something like that, in a short span of time, um, before the treatments began. And I remained slim for a long time. Um, Phew, man, it was just so much changes. Like, mm, it was wild. Like, man, like my whole life had changed. But what I did, instead of making it a negative, I turned that negative experience into a great blessing and opportunity. And it was worth every moment. And that also was a catalyst to continue to work hard to get myself out of the situation I was in with my ex. And I did. Um, and remember, like I said in the last video, right as I was about to leave, initially I got ill. So that set me back forever. It felt like forever, but it really wasn't. Um, Nobody but the Lord, man. And I'm just blessed. I'm just blessed and happy. I'm just blessed and happy that the Lord kept me. Everybody don't get so lucky. I know I you know, I did. Thank God I was blessed. Um, man. And also, on top of all of that, nobody knew except for one person. And that was the person I was with. All them months. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. And it wasn't hard, you know, going through that and nobody knowing, because I was able to be alone and think and breathe and get my spirit back right. Like it didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't a negative thing, you know, because I saw myself, I was like, when I'm good and ready to speak, I will, because at that point I couldn't deal with no, you know, I could deal with no crying and, you know, everybody, you know, falling out and making questions. Like, no, I barely could stand up and breathe on stuff of my own. So why would I just, you know what I'm saying, have everybody, you know, smuggling me and in my face? And no. Let me start building me back up and get me together. And then, you know, and then we can speak. Then I can get to know you. So eventually I did. You know, I let my dad know. Um, I let my stepmom know. I let my cousins, you know, my grandma. You know, like started gradually letting people know, you know, my workplace and everything like that. Um, it was never a secret. And I told myself to never make it a secret. And I've always been a transparent person anyway. So I wanted to continue that because I knew in the end that would help me. That would help my healing. That would help my journey. Um, and ever since then, I've just been a fighter and a survivor. And that first year was rough. I ain't gonna lie. From the end of February to that next February, because lo and behold, just when things were starting to look a lot better and I was starting to feel a lot better as far as my stamina and my strength and my looks and my image, you know, everything just started to feel a lot better. You know, here comes the devil again. Of course, the ex. This time, you know, it was a situation where, you know, he was done and ready and, you know, ready to just be gone. And which ended up happening. So that that February of 2020, on my mom's birthday, I was moving out of that place. In less than 24 hours or 48 hours, I had packed up most of that entire place we stayed in and was moving it into a storage unit and getting away. Staying with my best friend at the time, who I used to work with, well, you know, until I, you know, got my place straight to figure out where I wanted to live. Um, but that illness, that diagnosis, taught me a whole lot. I won't take it back for the world. I learned so much that first little year. Not ashamed of being, you know, with my situation. I'm undetectable even today. Um, you know, I still continue to take my medicine like I'm supposed to. Um, and now I've gotten to a point with it. Now I just want to go out and help the next person. You know, there's some things I want to do that I'll speak about in the future, future videos. But I got some plans up my sleeve. You know, I finally gotten to a point now. You know, years later, it's been over 4 years now. Um, no, yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's been over 4 years, and you know, I'm ready now. I'm ready to get out there and you know, champion for my people. Um, Men, women, everybody in between, everything. I'm ready to champion because this can happen to anybody at any given time. Um, I'm ready to break stigmas and stereotypes. I'm ready to help. There's things I want to do. Let's just say that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I felt like this is one of the things I needed to do. You know, making these videos and talking to the people, and let them know where I've come from, you know, what I went through, so they can understand where I'm going. Um, but you know, the journey don't stop. Um, thank y'all for tuning in. That is it for this story here. my real life, true life, this really happened. So, I hope you guys continue to tune in to my other videos and everything else I have going on, social medias and things of that nature. Um, Thank you to those who have been riding with me on this journey with my health, with my, status. Um, Thank you for those who supported me so far and still continue to support me. I appreciate each and every last one of y'all. To all the new viewers out there, welcome. um, yeah, this the journey is just beginning, man. But got a lifetime to go. So make sure you subscribe, share the videos, like the videos. Um, if you see it on some social media, comment, mention me. I reply back, but that's it for this right here, y'all. So there we go. That's that on that. But later, y'all, I'll catch y'all later. I can be on here all day. Peace.